Sega.
Hello YouTube, this is Michael B. the Game Genie, and this is a very special edition of my game pickups from the new Adventure Island. Alright guys, so as you can see from the title, this is the Sega episode of Game Pickups from the New Adventure Island, the first edition of my videos for Sega Month, and I picked up an absolute pile of items for the Sega in the last little while. I don't know why, I just really got back into collecting for it, so let me show you what I picked up. The way I'm going to do this, in reverse chronological order for the systems that I collect for, starting with the Sega Dreamcast. So for the Sega Dreamcast, I actually didn't pick up any games. What I did pick up was a brand new Dreamcast system. I already have one in the box, but that's the original one we had since we were kids, and my brother actually owned the original Sega Dreamcast. So anyways, he took it when we were a little bit younger, and he ended up getting it very yellow, so I found this one. It was for a good price. It looked to be in pretty good condition, so I picked it up. But that's not all I picked up for the Dreamcast. I also picked up Dreamcast mouse, which I'm pretty excited about. Unfortunately, I still can't find my SNES mouse, so I can't paint Mario paint, but at least I just picked up a Dreamcast mouse, and I picked this up at the absolute best place to collect for vintage video games. My parents' house. I went up and found it there. Excellent. And you know what else was there? My Dreamcast keyboard. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. Maybe I'll pick up Typing of the Dead. Moving on for a system that I actually haven't played in an extremely long time, but I just recently picked up some new great games for, so I'm going to actually pull it out, add it to the list of systems I actually have hooked up to my TV right now, is the Sega Saturn. One of the reasons I'm very excited to start playing the Saturn again is I finally picked up a memory card for the Saturn. I picked up an Action Replay Plus. Now, some of you may know that the Saturn had a memory card, but what you might not know is if you picked up an Action Replay Plus, this will actually let you play Japan import Sega Saturn games. So I'm excited, I can start playing those as well. And up here there's some amazing Saturn import games, so I'm excited to play them. Maybe I can finally play Episode 2 and Episode 3 of Shining Force 3. So the first Sega Saturn game I picked up, I'm actually really excited about. I actually own the sequel on the Dreamcast, and I've heard really good things about the original game. Actually, someone told me this was also ported to the PS1 as well, but I've never seen it. But I picked up D, or D's Diner. Really excited about this really cool game. And the next item, those who follow me on Facebook, you may have seen a little while ago, I picked up one of my Holy Grail items, or the items I've always been looking for, and I gave you a couple choices. And surprisingly, this was the only one that no one's ever picked. And it's actually the reason I bought my Saturn in the first place. Most of you know I'm a huge fan of this series, and I had basically the first 3 console versions of the game growing up. But I never ever knew about the 3rd installment that came out on the Saturn until well after the Saturn had gone off store shelves and you'd only pick it up secondhand. So I immediately went out and I bought a Saturn, and I got a couple games with it, and my goal was to find this game. And for 10 plus years now I've been looking, and I've never come across it. Until just recently, I finally picked up Shining Force 3 on the Saturn. I alluded to it a little bit earlier, this is only episode 1, but anyways, I'm still extremely excited to have a US copy of Shining Force 3. I've been waiting for this extremely long time. Extremely long. Next up is the 32X, and it's actually story time again. Sorry about this, it's just the way it works. In my last NES Complete Collection Chronicles video, I mentioned I had picked up Gun Knack for the NES, and what had happened, there was a story where basically I picked up Gun Knack, which is anywhere from a $70 to $100 game. In Canada on eBay.ca it actually goes for a little bit more than that. I've seen it go for $120, $150. I'm not really sure what the price is. Not a big deal to me. I'm never going to sell it. I'm just excited to have it in my collection. But at the time I was picking up Gun Knack, I was also haggling over another game. I grabbed Gun Knack, and I saw behind the counter a guy had the guy there had a game that I really, really wanted. But he just picked it up himself, and he wasn't sure exactly how much he should sell it for. So I offered him a fair amount. You know, this guy's a reseller. I'm not dumb. I know I'm not going to get it for $2.50. He wasn't so keen. He wanted $70. We eventually got down to $35 for the game, which I probably overpaid, but you know what, I'm okay with that. As long as I bought Gun Knack, which was a huge score. So I agreed to buy this one for $35, hoping that he wouldn't realize that Gun Knack was underpriced as well. And that was Knuckles Chaotix for the 32X. I know Ed T1138 just recently picked up 2 of these complete in box. I didn't pick it up complete in box, but I went to the cover project, printed out the case, and I'm happy to have my 32X games in these cases. The next 32X game I picked up is actually a combination 32X Sega CD game. It's actually only the second combination game I have. I already have Fahrenheit for the Sega CD and 32X CD up there, and I'm pretty excited about this. It's another horror-themed game. I've never played it before. I still haven't tried it, but I'm excited to try it out. I love the Sega CD. You'll see more of that in a second, but I picked up Corpse Killer for the Sega CD 32X. Moving along, probably one of my favorite systems of all time, a much maligned system, the Sega CD. I picked up a couple games for it. You've already seen Corpse Killer, obviously, but I also picked up a game that I know Captain 8-Bit, when he first started making his Game Chasers videos, was very excited to pick up. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan, in case you didn't already know, so I'm excited to pick this one. Star Wars Rebel Assault on the Sega CD. Okay guys, so the next 2 games I'm going to show you I picked up quite a while ago, but I don't think I ever showed you guys in the video. They're both Sega CD games. The first one kind of keeps with the Star Wars theme. It's actually Wing Commander. As most of you know, Mark Hamill actually starred in, I believe it was Wing Commander 3 on the 3DO computer, but there's no Mark Hamill in this game, and it's not really for me. I'm sure a lot of people really like the Wing Commander series, but not for me. The next game that I'm going to show you totally is for me, but I'm actually a little bit disappointed by it, and that is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Sega CD. I already own Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Super Nintendo and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Game Gears, which actually are incredible games. So when I first saw Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for the Sega CD, I assumed that it was going to be very much like its 16-bit counterparts, but it's actually not. It's all live-action sequences from the TV show itself, and what they use is they give you options to either press down, up, left, right, A, B, C at certain points. So basically it's all a memorization game, and if you press the buttons in sequence, you progress to the next level. It's okay, it's extremely short, but I don't know, it wasn't what I wanted, but it's still a great nostalgia wink if you're a big Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan. So now we're going a little bit further back with the Sega CD. I picked 2 of these games up recently when I was in New Brunswick. I went to a flea market, and the guy there had Sega CD games, and my mind was blown. You never see Sega CD games at a flea market. So I picked the 2 I really wanted, because I'm not trying to get everything for the Sega CD. And these actually aren't in your customary long box with the little blue on the side. These are actually in cardboard boxes with jewel cases inside, very similar to what they did for the TurboGrafx 16. Old Sega CD games. The first of which is one that anybody who's watched the Angry Video Game Nerd Sega CD video will remember, and that is Time Gal. Extremely excited to pick this up complete in box. Looks really cool in my collection. You know what? It's not really that bad a game. Very similar to the dynamic I explained in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Basically, it's all this really cool cartoon, and the cartoon progresses as long as you press the button combinations in the order displayed. Kind of like a Simon game with a video to it. So the last item for the Sega CD is arguably part of, in my opinion, the greatest beat-em-up series of all time. I have pretty much every installment except for the installment for the Sega CD, which is supposedly the absolute best installment of the original game, and that is Final Fight CD. Absolutely no other home version tops the music and visual presentation of the Sega CD adaptation. And this is, to my understanding, this is the only complete version, just like the arcade, that has all 3 characters playable. Final Fight CD. Very, very excited to finally add this to my Sega CD collection. So again, taking another trip up to my parents' house, I'm pretty sure I'm getting pretty close to cleaning them completely out of all the video game stuff myself and my brother had when we were younger. I come across one last item, and that is our Sega Game Gear collection. So I found our Sega Game Gear, which is new to my collection here. Well, not new, obviously, I've owned it all my life, but I finally have it again here with me. And loaded in is WWF WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge. You definitely probably can't see that, but I also got Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Streets of Rage, Sonic 2, excellent game, Spider-Man, Prince Ali, Wonderfully Alibaba, Disney's Aladdin, probably the Game Gear game I spent the most time with growing up, Streets of Rage 2, World Series Baseball, a Tengen Game Gear game I can't really remember buying, PGA Golf Tour, and last but not least for the Game Gear, probably one of my favorite games I owned growing up, but man is it ever hard, the Terminator. Alright guys, so that brings us into the Sega Genesis portion of my Sega pickups. The first game is a game I used to rent all the time. I've probably told the story a bunch of times. When I was young, I never owned the original Sega Genesis, but I used to go down to a Red Circle convenience store and rent it out all the time. I'd always rent out Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, but there were 3 other games I'd always rent alongside that. They were Sonic the Hedgehog, Streets of Rage, and this game, Spider-Man on the Genesis. So excited to finally pick this up. I can't remember if it's a really good game or not. I'm just a huge Spider-Man fan. The next game is one I showed you in one of my last pickup videos, which is Sonic 3. And you're probably saying, Mike, you've already picked up Sonic 3. Well, I did, but it actually didn't work. So I want to say thank you so much to another YouTuber by the name of Goodwill Hunter for sending me a working copy, so I can finally say Sonic 3 is part of my collection. You've probably figured out by now I'm a huge beat-em-up fan, so I'm very excited to add Streets of Rage 2 to my collection. I ran across Streets of Rage 3 as well in the wild while I was out looking, but the resale I wanted $59.99. I gotta think that's a terrible price for Streets of Rage 3, and I don't really want to know if you guys think it's a terrible price or not. Just, is it an uncommon game? I'm completely amazed that Streets of Rage 3 will be charging $60. But, however, I have Streets of Rage 2, so that now means I have Streets of Rage 1 and 2, the original Genesis, which I'm very excited about. This is the only game in the series I think I've actually finished. And now a cool Konami set that I'm very excited to pick up. I've heard wonderful things about. Well, the first game, really specifically. Second game, not so much, but I'm still excited to have it. First game is Rocket Knight Adventures, and the second, of course, Sparkster. Now, Rocket Knight Adventures was a Sega Genesis only release. However, Sparkster came out over multiple platforms, and maybe that's why it suffered. Alright guys, so this is where it starts getting really good. First new game I picked up is one that I came across for the first time on a Pat the NES Punk review. It was the only ever Sega Genesis or Sega review that Pat did on the show. And he reviewed Alicia Dragoon for the Sega Genesis. I've played this, seems like an excellent game so far, really enjoying it, very happy to add it to my collection. The next game I've added to my Genesis collection is a shoot 'em up, and I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't always a fan of shoot 'em ups, but it's something I've absolutely fell in love with in the last year. Since I've finally acquired a TurboGrafx 16 and started playing some of those shooters, I'm completely enamored. I'll play everything and anything. This game is very highly regarded, and I know EdT1138 talks about it all the time, so I was very excited to come across it, excited to add it to my collection. That is Truxton on the Sega Genesis. In my very last episode of Game Pickups from New Adventure Island, 16-bit gems, I showed you I had picked up Phantasy Star 3, and I was so excited to finally have a Phantasy Star Genesis game in my collection. But a lot of people in the comments actually came back and said, well, that's actually the worst game. You really want to play Phantasy Star 2 or Phantasy Star 4. They're the best games in the series. And some people even came back and said you want to play Phantasy Star 1 on the Master System. Well, thanks for the advice, because I did just that. I picked up Phantasy Star 2 on the Genesis. Very excited. I love role-playing games. Never played the Phantasy Star series, so I get to play through every single one. Really excited. Obviously, I just told you I get to play through every single one, so I'm already alluding to the fact that I also picked up Phantasy Star 4. Now, this wasn't complete. This actually came loose, so I just printed off a cover and put it in a Genesis case. I'm happy that way. I don't really like the cardboard boxes. I only have, I think, 2 games in the cardboard boxes. I'll leave them in there, but I'm not a big fan of it. I did say I'd be able to play every game in the Phantasy Star series, didn't I? Let's move to my SMS series, and the first game I want to show you is Phantasy Star on the SMS. Very excited. Also picked up Rocky. I've heard bad things about this. It's a broken game, but can't help myself. It's Rocky. Alien Syndrome. Actually, NT1138 told me this is the absolute best version of Alien Syndrome to play, so I'm excited to try it out. Vigilante. I already own Vigilante, actually complete, and I don't mean just the jewel case, I mean cardboard box and everything, for the TurboGrafx 16. So, I love the one on the TurboGrafx 16. I'm interested to see how this compares. Yeah, in case you haven't figured it out, I'm a bit of a Sylvester Stallone mark. So I also picked up Rambo. Actually, this game looks really cool. It looks kind of like Commando on the NES, so I'm excited to try it out. California Games is what it is. Woo! What a cover. So I'm a huge Adventure Island fan, and we all know the original Adventure Island was actually Wonder Boy on the Sega Master System. However, after Adventure Island left and went on the NES, the Wonder Boy series went in a different direction. Well, I'm very excited to say that I've picked up the other 2 games in the Wonder Boy series for the SMS. First is Wonder Boy and Monsterland. This is an incredible game. It's kind of funny, actually. If you look at Super Adventure Island 2 on the SNES, it actually follows the Wonder Boy kind of storyline. And I also picked up Wonder Boy 3, The Dragon's Trap. So, that completes my Wonder Boy collection. I have all 3 now on the SMS. Very excited. If anybody follows me on Facebook, you'd already realize that I finished my Wonder Boy series, and I said, well, what's next? Maybe Alex Kidd. And everybody wrote me and said, you might want to stay away from Alex Kidd, it's quite pricey. Yeah, absolutely. Alex Kidd is a pricey series to come by, especially Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. I didn't pick up Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. I did pick up Alex Kidd in High Tech World, and one of the games Mike Gartner told me was one of the best games Sega ever made, and that is Alex Kidd in Miracle World. I've been playing the hell out of this. I've been having a lot of fun. I actually forgot one. I also picked up one of my favorite role-playing game series of all time, Ys, The Vanished Omens. This is actually Ys Book 1. I'd love to get a copy of Ys Book 1 and 2 on the Turbo Duo. Gotta get around to that. So I told you guys I've been playing the heck out of Alex Kidd in Miracle World. For those of you who follow me, you must be saying, how's that possible, Mike? Isn't your SMS broken? Did you fix it? Yeah, I'm not very handy, so I actually didn't end up fixing my SMS. What I did was, I went out and got myself a brand new one. And I picked it up complete in box. So excited about this. This was the only Sega system that I actually didn't have complete in box. Very excited to say I finally have a box Sega Master System, and it works perfectly, so I can finally play all, I think it's like 27 of my Master System games I now have. So guys, this is the coup de grace, the Sega Master System. The best piece of my collection. Actually, the Sega Stoner, my very good friend, just picked one of these up complete in box as well, so kudos, Sega Stoner. Alright guys, so as you can see, I've gotten a little bit Sega crazy in the last little while. Hence, the start of Sega Month. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. This is Michael B. the Game Genie, and I'll talk to you next time. Yeah, this right here, it's about 300 hours of my life that I'm never going to get back.